This is Akashvani. In the weekly program Current Affairs, now we bring you a special broadcast on National Science Day.
National Science Day is celebrated every year on 28th February. The idea is to commemorate the discovery of the Raman effect made by the eminent physicist Sir C.V. Raman while working in the laboratory of the Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science, Kolkata. He was awarded Nobel Prize in 1930 for this discovery. The idea behind celebrating the National Science Day is to spread the message of the importance of science and its application amongst the people. Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended his greetings on the occasion of the National Science Day. In a social media post, he said,
जिज्ञासा विज्ञान की जननी है। हर मन में वैज्ञानिक सोच हो, विज्ञान के प्रति आकर्षण हो। 28 फरवरी 1928 सर सीवी रमन ने अपनी खोज रमन इफेक्ट की घोषणा की थी। यही तो खोज थी जिसने उनको नोबेल पुरस्कार प्राप्त किया और इसलिए देश 28 फरवरी को नेशनल साइंस डे के रूप में मनाता है।
साथियों, 21वीं सदी के भारत के विकास में विज्ञान उस ऊर्जा की तरह है जिसमें हर क्षेत्र के विकास को, हर राज्य के विकास को बहुत गति देने का सामर्थ्य है। हमारे शास्त्रों में कहा गया है, ज्ञानम विज्ञान सहितम यद ज्ञात्वा मोक्ष से अशुभा, अर्थात ज्ञान जब विज्ञान के साथ जुड़ता है, जब ज्ञान और विज्ञान से हमारा परिचय होता है तो संसार की सभी समस्याओं और संकटों से मुक्ति का रास्ता अपने आप खुल जाता है। समाधान का, सॉल्यूशन का, इवोल्यूशन का और इनोवेशन का आधार विज्ञान ही है। इसी प्रेरणा से आज का नया भारत जय जवान, जय किसान, जय विज्ञान के साथ ही जय अनुसंधान का आह्वान करते हुए आगे बढ़ रहा है।
Speaking exclusively to Akashvani News, ISRO Chairman Dr. V. Narayanan dwelled upon the idea behind celebrating National Science Day.
As you are aware, Science Day is a day remembering the great Sir C.V. Raman and his discovery of Raman effect way back in the year 1928. And on this day, the entire country is celebrating National Science Day. I personally feel it is to promote scientific temper and encourage interest in science and technology among the younger generation of this country. In fact, the theme of this year is empowering Indian youth for global leadership in science and innovation for developed Bharat. And when you take this as a theme, really, this century, in my opinion, is a century of space activities and space program. In fact, we have done the 100th launch from Sriharikota, and that was a very grand, successful launch which got accomplished on 29th of January.
The ISRO chairman hailed Prime Minister Narendra Modi's appeal to celebrate one day as a scientist.
This is a fantastic idea, one-day scientist. Somebody becoming a one-day scientist is a fantastic idea, brainchild of our most respected Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji. And in fact, we are going to support, we are going to take this direction and we are going to bring the younger generation to the our own space centers and we are going to ensure them to be a real scientist one day. You know, the idea is when they think or when they act as as a scientist for one day, they will understand what has happened in the country and what way science and technology really contribute for the growth of the country, what way it can really contribute. And this feeling will come. One is scientific temper, second thing is a national feeling, third thing is how to contribute for this country. This will come and that will bring fantastic result to the country, surely. So I really have no other words other than taking the direction from Honorable Prime Minister to do whatever best possible. It is an excellent idea.
In the Akashvani podcast, Mike Massimino, former NASA astronaut, spoke on a range of subjects related to India's strides in the space sector. Interviewer is Kaushik Roy.
Namaskar, and it's a proud privilege for Akashvani to welcome Mike Massimino, who is a former NASA astronaut and who made history as one of the first astronauts to post onto the social media from space. And you tweeted, actually, which is now known as X. And during your strides or your odyssey in space, you played a key role in servicing the Hubble Space Telescope. You've also been a professor at the Columbia University. You're a prominent speaker, and he's also an advocate for space exploration. Thank you very much for joining us in the studios today.
Thank you for having me.
This is indeed a pleasure. And India also is being a big player where space launches and space technology is concerned. We are one of the few countries, along with the United States and others, to have cutting-edge technology. We would request you to please share your experiences as an astronaut with NASA and your challenges and memorable experiences too in space.
Sure. Thanks very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Learning more about what India is up to was this is my first time in the country. I've flown over the country a lot in space and looked down and admired it. So it's great to be here in person. I was with NASA as an astronaut for 18 years, from 1996 until 2014. And I was on 2 missions. Both of my missions were on the space shuttle to the Hubble Space Telescope. And I got the spacewalk, which was quite an experience. A lot of hard work, a bit stressful, but quite an experience going outside in your spacesuit and working on the telescope. So that's what my space flights were about. And now, as you said, I'm teach in New York City at Columbia. As far as memorable things go, I think most memorable for me were the spacewalks and all the preparation and the training that went into them, and then going out there and executing the plan. And not everything goes according to the way you expect it. We always said every spacewalk is a little bit different. There's always something that you don't expect, or something that's a little bit different than what you trained for, and you have to move and accommodate and change the plan. But they all seem to work out in the end.
Right. As you know, India's ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, is also planning to send astronauts into space very soon. And the mission is known as Mission Gaganyaan. So how do you view this?
I'm very excited about it. I think it's great to be able to send spacecraft and satellites, and what they did on the moon with Chandrayaan was spectacular. But there's always something a little bit different about sending people there, because then you're sending a representative to go there, and it's like everyone gets to go personally. So I'm very excited for India to be doing this. I'm particularly excited because the commander of that mission is a very good friend of mine. Right. Peggy Whitson was my astronaut classmate. I've known her since 1996, which is a long time now. How long? It's almost 30 years. Yes. I've known her a long time. She's a very good friend of mine, and I know she's looking forward to that mission. So I'm looking forward for that reason, but for my friend Peggy, but also flying with your countrymen is going to be, I think, very exciting for a lot of people around the world, not just here in India.
From your perspective, or since from NASA's perspective, when Chandrayaan-3 landed on the surface of the moon in 21st August 2023 in the south pole of the moon, how do you view that?
I thought it was spectacular for a number of reasons. One is India was only the 4th country to be able to land something on the moon, but they went to a very interesting part of the moon down by the South Pole. And the interest there is that we think that there is ice trapped in that area, so water ice. So that water is important for us for life, but also maybe for propulsion systems to use as for fuel in the future. So that is a very interesting area of the moon, but it's hard to get there. It's a rough terrain. It's not as easy as some of the other places. When we sent humans that were sent there, when the United States sent the astronauts there back in the late 1960s and over 50 years ago, in the early 1970s, they more or less stayed in the middle of the moon, where it's a little bit easier to land and communicate with people there. So it's a more difficult place to get to, and they were able to do that. So it's quite an accomplishment. I think also the excitement it generated here in India and back in the United States was significant. I think that type of accomplishment gets everybody excited. And you can do some great things scientifically with science and engineering, but to do something like that, like landing on the moon, really gets people excited.
Recently, India also successfully docked 2 satellites in space. and became the fourth nation to complete this mission. It is considered a milestone. And how do you view this achievement of India?
Rendezvousing and docking to spacecraft is not easy. To be very precise in orbit like that, the orbital mechanics don't always make sense. If you try to catch up to something, go quickly, you'll go to a higher orbit and then you'll get further away from it. And if you try to slow down, you'll drop down and then speed up and get ahead of it. Orbits are not easy.
India is also working on setting up its own space station very soon by, say, 2035 or 40. So how do you view this development?
We have the International Space Station, of course, which is the Indian astronaut will be going to in a few months. I think the wave of the future is going to be space stations for more economic development. And I think governments are going to be looking toward going further away to the moon, as India has done in the United States as well, and others. So I think that's the future in space in low Earth orbit. I think it's going to be more of an economic venture. And I think it's now open to more and more companies and countries to do that work. And then the next goal for people anyway is moon and beyond. But I think that would be tremendous. Getting more people active in the research and the development that can be done in low Earth orbited space stations.
Right. I'd also like to know from you that very soon, maybe in a couple of years, both ISRO, that is the Indian Space Research Organization, and NASA would be launching a joint rocket called NISAR aboard an Indian launch vehicle. So how do you look at this development, and what are the areas that both India and the United States can, collaborate in using space for global good?
One of the advantages we have of the space program that's often overlooked is international cooperation. The International Space Station was initially something called Space Station Freedom, which was mainly a United States space station, and that was under development in the 1980s, and it had cost overruns. It wasn't going very well with its development. And then it was changed to the International Space Station, where the United States began working with the countries of Europe and Japan and Canada and Russia as well. And that made it a much stronger program because you were taking resources and intellect and ideas from around the world. Every country had different experiences in space, so we were able to pool those together, and out of that came the International Space Station program, which has been a very successful program, also for international cooperation and friendship, and you can agree on technical problems. A lot of times, political issues might not always align between countries, but when you have a common goal, when it's a technical goal, and I think space is the best thing that countries can cooperate on. So I think it's really a good thing that the United States and India will cooperate on this as you describe, and I hope that does happen. They're two great countries, two very big, powerful countries, with a lot of smart people and a lot of technological breakthroughs in both countries. So if we can cooperate on a common goal to explore space together, I think that's good for our countries, but also for the whole world.
Right. We have time and again, that is India has time and again emphasized on the secure use of space, and space being free from any kind of violence or intimidation. And also, India is a big proponent of a clean space. That is, we have a lot of debris in the space, and India is working on. Do you think this is an area where both the United States and India can collaborate to clean up the debris which is there?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff up there. We were very concerned even when I was flying over 15 years ago. We were worried about debris impacts. The Hubble Space Telescope had hit things. The shuttle had. The space station has impacts. It's a problem. And cleaning it up is not easy because things are at different orbits and traveling at different speeds, and you can't maneuver around as well as you'd like. So I think the cleanup is important, and also not making it worse. So, for example, with the Hubble Space Telescope, on the last mission, we attached a docking ring to it so that when its useful life is over, a rocket motor can go up there and guide it back to Earth, burning it up in the atmosphere so it doesn't create any debris and doesn't pose any hazard to people on Earth. And I think you bring up a good point and I'm glad that India is doing this. When you launch something, you need to be responsible for it. Not only getting it there and having it function and work, but also disposing of it when its life is over, getting it out of there in a safe way, and not cluttering up the environment worse up there. We have different environmental issues. Here it's about keeping our environment clean and clean water and air and so on. But up there, debris poses a real hazard to anything, to satellites, to spacecraft, to people. So
absolutely,
you need to be responsible. And I think we're at that point where we have to be that, and also think about how we can clean it up. That's a tough problem, though.
What is your take on when would Sunita Williams be back on Earth?
I hope she's back soon. She's a very good friend of mine. I got to work with her for many years, and I've been exchanging email with her, saying hi and telling her we care about her, of course, and she knows that. I think the latest that I've heard is that the crew that will be there to relieve them will be launching on March the 12th. So they usually have about a week or so of handover. So I think maybe the third week of March, in about a month's time, I think she should be back here. You'll also be very proud of her here in India and in the United States, of course. We're proud of her, too.
In conclusion, what would be your message to young minds who would like to pursue a career in space?
Find your passions you're interested in and explore whatever you can, especially in school. I visited a school today here in India, public school, wonderful place. The students are very eager to learn. The instructors, the teachers are there very dedicated. So I would encourage young people of India to study hard, learn as much as they can, do as best as you can. Don't worry about doing a certain, this or grade or this or that. Just do the best that you can, learn as much as you can, develop a passion, and don't give up when things get tough. School is tough. It's the hardest thing I've had to do was learn in school. After that, life became easier. Once I was through with school, I went to a lot of school.
Right.
But those are where you're going to find your challenges. So don't give up. When reach out and get help from your teachers or your parents or your friends, and keep going. But pursue it because it's worth it. It's an extraordinary world we live in, and technology, which there's such a great technological foundation here in India. Take advantage of that and pursue whatever it is that you're interested in, whether it's engineering or science or medicine or whatever it might be. Pursue that, and all those paths that I mentioned in all STEM fields lead to space. So keep an eye on what's available for you in space as well.
On that very positive note, and I'm sure that both India and the United States can collaborate on STEM, as you mentioned, that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and also space. And hopefully one day, if we do not conquer, but at least we will be there as close collaborators at the final frontier.
And certainly on this next mission that you mentioned.
Thank you, Mike Massimo, for joining us in Akashvani podcast today and sparing your valuable time. It was indeed a pleasure. Thank you so very much. Namaskar.
Thank you for having me.
Defense Minister Rajnath Singh today called upon the youth to inculcate scientific temper and excel in frontier technologies by making best use of the internationally competitive infrastructure made available in the country. Addressing a large number of students after inaugurating Vigyan Vaibhav 2025 at Gachibowli Stadium in Hyderabad, a 2-day science and technology extravaganza, the Defense Minister emphasized that the application of science plays a key role for an all-round development of the humankind.
Friends, India has been a hub of innovation since a very long time. Even when formal education had not penetrated deep into hinterlands. And we are aware of the famed Indian capacity for jugaad, which is nothing but a creative improvisation for efficiency and better results. Even today, we know that most of our auto mechanics, electricians, plumbers, and other such specialists have little formal education, but they have the originality and creative thinking for learn and to learn fast, to provide services.
National Science Day was celebrated in the national capital today. Addressing the National Science Day celebrations in New Delhi, Dr. Jitendra Singh, the Minister of State Independent Charge for Science and Technology and Earth Sciences, Dr. Singh spoke about Prime Minister's appeal to celebrate one day as a scientist.
The Prime Minister of India has made an appeal to the common citizenry to celebrate it in much the same fashion as they celebrate any other festival in this country. And he made a special mention of it in his monthly Mann Ki Baat broadcast, imploring upon each one of us to at least feel like a scientist, if not a scientist, at least a student of scientist or a learner of a scientist.
Bengaluru is the hub of science institutes and can be called the Science City of India. Let's listen to a report from our Bengaluru correspondent Sudhindra about the celebrations on the occasion today.
The Indian Institute of Science, Raman Research Institute, Jawaharlal Nehru Institute of Advanced Studies, ISRO, and several such R&D companies in the private sector have made Bengaluru their headquarters. Most of these institutions celebrated the National Science Day today. Former chairman of ISRO, A.S. Kiran Kumar, administered the oath of National Science Day to the students at Jawaharlal Nehru Planetarium in Bengaluru. Karnataka State Chief Secretary Shalini Rajneesh administered the oath to the officers and staff in the State Secretariat building. The Bengaluru University Vice Chancellor Professor Lingaraj Gandhi informed during National Science Day today that it was in 1928 when C.V. Raman gave a lecture on Raman effect for the first time in the university. Professor Kaushal Verma from the Indian Institute of Science has spoken to Akashvani News on the significance of the National Science Day.
Today we celebrate National Science Day. It is also a chance for us to celebrate our country's scientific and technological progress, remember our scientific heroes, and nurture the spirit of curiosity in young learners. In the pantheon of the Indian scientific greats, C.V. Raman looms large. He became IISc's first Indian director on 31st of March 1933 and established the Department of Physics the same year. Before he came to IISc, Raman worked at the Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science in Kolkata. There, he and his collaborators discovered that when a beam of light passes through a liquid, there is a shift in the frequency of scattered light. It was for this discovery that he received the Nobel Prize in 1930.
The Raman Research Institute in Bengaluru opened its door to the science enthusiasts on the Science Day today. The scientists from the institute interacted with the visiting students about radio telescope, soft condensed matter, electronic devices and rocket launchers. A scientist from the institute, Dr. Prabhu Tyagraj, has spoken about the day exclusively to Akashvani News.
Children were excited, enthusiastic, asking questions. So had the opportunity to visit the Raman's Museum, one of the prestigious personal museum of Raman's, consisting of gems and collections personally organized by Raman himself. Our motivation here is to develop curiosity in the young minds and show them how fascinating the science and the technology fields are. Raman always liked young children, and he always invited them to the campus, and the tradition continues at the institute now.
We also spoke to Dr. Pratishtha Tiwari Pandey, Scientist G, in the Department of Science and Technology. She is heading R&D Infrastructure Division and National Supercomputing Mission. Welcome to Akashvani News.
Hello, good evening, namaskar.
Before we start our interaction, I would like to extend my greetings to you on the National Science Day.
Thank you so much, and my wishes to everyone for National Science Day.
Before we speak and we delve deep into the subject, I would like to understand from you that from past few years there has been an environment in the country where people are more and more interested and drawn towards science and technology. And your department, the Department of Science and Technology, is playing a very crucial role in developing an infrastructure in the country to involve more and more youngsters towards this particular field. Could you please elaborate and talk about the efforts of DST for scientific and infrastructure building?
Department of Science and Technology is having a dedicated vertical which is called R&D Infrastructure Program, in which there are different schemes, FIST, PERS, SAF, SATHI, which are there for scientific infrastructure building in academic institutions. In FIST, we have supported more than 3,300 departments, and the outreach is 870 institutions across the country, including postgraduate science colleges. So under FIST, the grants are given to IITs, NITs, central universities, state universities, ISERs, and different academic institutions at the departmental level for enabling them to acquire high-end research facilities. We have another program which is dedicated to universities in the country. We strengthen the university ecosystem for scientific research and development in different thematic areas. Then we have 15 SAF centers across the country in which high-end analytical instruments are there. And these centers provide the research needs of the researchers locally across the region. Then we have the major program of DST called SATHI, which has attracted a lot of interest in recent years. Under SATHI, a national level infrastructure is created. Those type of infrastructure which is not there in the country, like a very big cryo-EM or some major facility. So as of now, Department of Science and Technology has established 5 SATHI centers, one at IIT Delhi, then Banaras Hindu University, IIT Kharagpur, BITS Pilani, and IIT Hyderabad. So this is all about infrastructure, and a lot of push is given by the government nowadays to enable all the institutions, and we have been very inclusive in the selection process. Apart from selecting the Tier 1 institutions like IIT and ICERS and ISC, DST is always very inclusive in selecting small state-funded universities for strengthening the research ecosystem.
As you mentioned that you handle the R&D Infrastructure Division and National Supercomputing Mission. Here I would like to draw your attention to the National Quantum Mission. In the year 2023, the Union Cabinet approved the National Quantum Mission, and it is for a duration from 2023-24 to 2030-31. And the aim is to seed, nurture and scale up scientific and industrial R&D and create a vibrant and innovative ecosystem in quantum technology. So first of all, could you just explain our listeners what exactly a National Supercomputing Mission is and what this entire National Quantum Mission is?
First, I will talk about the National Quantum Mission. So the main purpose of the mission is to enable our country, India, to be one of the leading countries in the world in the field of quantum technology, in the development of quantum technology and various applications. The mission objectives include developing intermediate-scale quantum computers, then satellite-based secure quantum communications, quantum networks, and some of the more deliverables, we can say that it will focus on developing magnetometers with very high sensitivity in atomic clocks for precision timing, communication, and navigation. As of now, Quantum Mission has launched 4 thematic hubs to position India as a global leader in quantum technology. So these hubs are at different academic institutions, and their focus area is quantum computing at Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, quantum communication at IIT Madras. This hub is working in association with CDOT. Then quantum sensing and metrology at Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. And the work on quantum materials and devices is done at Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. So their initiative aims to drive technology development, nurture human capital, promote entrepreneurship, and enhance international collaborations. So this was all about Quantum Mission. And one of my recent responsibility given by the department is National Supercomputing Mission. So National Supercomputing Mission is jointly implemented by MIT and DST. And the key objective of the mission is to make India one of the world leaders in supercomputing and to enhance India's capability in solving grand challenges, problems of national and global relevance. So as of now, total supercompute power of 33 petaflops have been achieved as of now. And different areas like astrophysics, bioinformatics, computational materials, disaster management, molecular dynamics, weather prediction, urban modeling. So these are the different applications where supercomputers are used across the country. I would like to say Honorable PM remotely inaugurated 3 high-end supercomputers at IUAC New Delhi, one at SN Bose National Center for Basic Sciences, Calcutta, one at CDAC, and one at NCRA, Pune. So this is a very important mission of government which DST and MIT are working together.
That's actually a very positive note to end this discussion. So thank you so much for sparing your valuable time and enlightening our listeners with all the facts and all the progress that India is making in the field of science and technology. Dr. C.V. Raman has said, science is a continuous journey. There is always something new and exciting to discover.
You were listening to a special broadcast on National Science Day. This program